Yeah, so let's talk about white supremacy and how it's affected the rest of the world.
globally.
So this whole like colonial project going back to Europe, right? We know that we have these royal families in Europe, but it's interesting seeing how it's actually capitalism that spurred this whole like white supremacy.
Oh yeah, it was
Uh,
spices.
this right. So
They wanted spice.
you have these like these essentially these corporations
Yeah.
in the UK, in Britain, and in the Netherlands. I think these were the very first ones. The British East India
Okay. Okay.
Company,
Yeah. No. No.
the
No.
what was it?
Yeah. No. No. Like the, the very first colonial expeditions, like there was first of all, after the Napoleonic Wars, after like Britain and Britain defeated Napoleon, he had a huge army and they didn't know what the fuck to do with it, so they sent him to Africa. And
Mhm.
that's where the Algerian colonial experiment started, and they fully
Okay.
occupied Algeria because they didn't know what to do with the fucking with all these like Napoleon soldiers. And then when they went to India, they wanted spices because their food sucked.
Yeah.
they wanted spices, so
They
they went.
wanted tea. Tea was
They wanted
huge.
tea. They wanted curry.
Silk from China.
They wanted cumin. They wanted pepper. They
Yeah.
didn't have that shit. So they went to and they went to India.
But then when
And
you're
they
when you're
sorted them.
seeing Yeah, but then when you see that these corporations started, getting investors to pool their monies into these expeditions to go and uh, set up these forts and kill all these people, and it was gradual. But what I'm getting at is that at some point these expeditions, these projects were so successful and so profitable that their governments were
Okay,
like,
so
all right, we need to
then
take advantage of this. And so
ding
they
ding ding
started
ding ding
sending
ding ding
in
ding ding
their
ding 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 ding.
navies, there you go, and their armies.
No,
And
this
then
is
it became a colonial
yeah.
enterprise.
You've hit on it. Ding 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 ding. Like when it comes to colonialism, it usually started with corporations, and they would go in and start some shit, because they wanted some spices or whatever they wanted from a particular country, copper, and they would go in, and then they get themselves in trouble because the local people are like, fuck you, these are our resources, these are our lands, you can buy some of it if you want, but you don't get to like come here and like set up shop and own it. And so then they're like, hey, queen, can you send the royal military in? And then so like
They were getting
it,
cuts, man. The royals and their people, all their friends, those guys were big investors too. They were
oh,
making big bucks.
of course, but the point that I'm making is that it was private companies that started the invasion, and then the actual royal military came in to back them up
Yeah.
and invade. And then it's like, oh, I guess we're gonna have to colonize all these coolies, you know we're gonna have to like take over. But
So then you
colonialism was it was like private companies that pulled the government with them. It pulled the military and made them like, oh, we broke in here and now you have to back our asses up.
so when these colonial powers
Uh-huh.
invaded all these different areas and set up their colonies, they needed to find some sort of justification for that, right? And so it's like, all right, yes, there are these corporations and all that. But no, there's a higher sort of motive here, right? That they were trying to sell to their own people and to the rest of the world, right?
Yeah,
And to
well then,
themselves. And
yeah,
this is
because
where the whole white supremacy idea comes
yeah,
from,
because you're gonna
right?
feel bad.
Right, because you said it in another episode previously
Yeah,
that
I think I did say
if
that.
you you have to
Oppress and
you have
dehumanize the
you have to
civilization.
dehumanize these people, because if you don't, then you're going to see them as other human beings, and that's
Yeah,
going to make you feel bad,
it's
right?
gonna
But
make
no,
you
you
feel like
can't
a
feel
fucking
bad when you
asshole.
want to, like, right, you can't feel bad when you want to take over the world,
So
right,
you have
and
to
steal all the
justify it.
resources of the world, right? So you dehumanize everyone, and you create a racial hierarchy whereby you create these new disciplines of
And you make this story.
biology where they look into, like, oh,
Yeah,
how do white people differ in terms of their physical anatomy, and how that
yeah,
makes
and
them more
you make
superior than black people. And
exactly, and you make up a story about how you're actually helping them.
yeah,
It's like
and you
actually
try to
I'm helping
convince
you.
them of that,
Yeah, I'm actually helping you,
right?
and you create
And
these, like body dysmorphia, all kinds of situations. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a thing. There has been a thing in Africa where even after even into the 70s and 80s, after colonization, like in the Congo and other countries in Africa, that people would put acid on their skin because it would slough off a few layers and their skin would be lighter colored.
that's okay. So there's
Because
still people are still doing that today.
people,
Like,
yeah,
go to like India and Pakistan, people bleach their skin. Go to the
yeah,
Philippines, people bleach their skin. Go to the Gulf countries in the Arab world, people are bleaching their skin. Why is it that wherever you go, pretty much anywhere, almost anywhere in the world you
it's
go,
like white
you
is
will
right.
see, yeah, you will see that as a light-skinned person, you're going to get treated better than someone who's darker skinned,
Yeah,
and that
and you are.
your people view you as like somehow better looking, like it's a physical trait now, like it's
Yeah,
become,
and people
because
go.
it's blown up in the fashion industry and all the media that they broadcast with billboards and magazine covers of what the standard of beauty across the world is.
Yeah, so like standards of beauty. Let's you want to talk about standards of beauty? Yeah, it's like it's become so ingrained in so many societies that, like, the lighter skinned you are, the thinner your nose is, the more beautiful you are. And people are bleaching their skins.
It's a
They're
big
like
industry.
they're straightening their hair. And I mean, this is where you get the reaction where, like, you know eh, there is a little bit of resistance among the left about you know being proud of your hair, being happy with, I have curly hair, I have dreadlocks, I have, but it runs up against even legal issues, like even like employment issues where employers are like, you need to like do something with your like black hair or your curly hair because it's we don't like that. And
Schools
it's
too. If you had like schoolgirls going, like, let's say black
we're,
schoolgirls
yeah.
who had their like hair grown out, it's like, no, that has to be straightened.
Well, they do this bullshit with like in the NFL too,
But
and
you know
like
what's crazy is
sports.
that you see that idea of hair in schools. So we think that maybe this is just the thing here in the U.S., but it's not.
Mhm.
You see it across the world. If a kid,
Yeah.
if a let's say a kid, particularly girls, because they have usually have longer hair, right? If a girl has frizzy hair or curly hair, even in like in Syria where my family's from, it's
Yeah.
like, no, no, you got to straighten that hair. You can't like do that. That doesn't look good.
Yeah, but then if you cover your hair, then it's like, well, now you're all Muslim.
That's a
You're all
different problem.
Muslim.
That doesn't
No, just
fit the
Muslim.
standard of beauty that we want, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I can't cover my hair. I can't wear my hair as it is. Like, you just want me to shave my head? Like, what the fuck?
That's actually
You know
what a
what I mean?
bunch of French girls did. Did you hear about that? So
God,
when they banned the
yeah.
head covering, the hijab for women, for girls who were going to school in France, what one girl did was she was like, I refuse to show you my hair, so I'm just gonna shave it. And so it's like, yeah, it's a form of resistance. It's like,
I think
and
I
this
think
is,
I think your cat had an opinion on that because I heard a meow.
yeah, yeah. I should open
should
the
we should
door
we
so that
refer?
is, yeah. Let
should
me
we
let me
defer
open
to
the door.
the cat opinion?
Right.
Let's get the cat opinion, the feline opinion on this.
They're a lot more natural than we are. Let's just put it that way.
They're not shaving their fur. I
Yeah, yeah,
mean, they'll cough it
um,
up in hairballs, but then I'm not shaving it.
yeah. No, and man, this this whole thing will take so many different like shapes and forms. It's crazy how like white supremacy is so widespread, and
Well,
yeah,
it's
it's
just how much they think that they are justified. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what really bothers me is how justified certain people feel about telling you how you should be and how people should, dress and groom themselves and what their hair should be like. Like it's just so like, who the fuck are you to tell me what my hair should look like, what my clothing should look like, what my skin color should be? Like who
It's
the fuck
eradicated entire
died and made
cultures.
you? Like who the fuck died and made you God?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's a god complex that a lot of
Yeah.
white people have and have had. And so, but the idea is, you know, it's so widespread, and